Evening one and all. Welcome back to Ragstein, Sunday night. I was about to say 7 o'clock there, but it's 6 o'clock because of my guest. He's already put out a real great video of the day. If you want to donate, you can. Buy me a coffee's in the link there. I'd rather you actually follow me on my other Rumble and Odyssey stuff. Build up the platforms there. So, thank you to Kate and Sensum for last week. So, much appreciated. So, without further ado, Matt the Angry Bootnik.
How are you doing?
Not too bad. I thought you'd done a cracker the Sarah Potchin thing the day.
It's a ridiculous state of affairs, isn't it?
Well, I've been watching Twitter and getting notifications. There's certain boys I follow on there. And it was, what do you call him? Basil the Great.
Oh, yeah, he's good, him.
And remember, was it, what did he call him? Hamza Youssef. What do you see? I'll show it here. Share screen.
Yeah, I made a tweet about it. It's very public, very racist, white speech.
Yeah, that's the one. It's only a couple of seconds long.
The Lord Justice Clerk, white. Every High Court judge, white. The Lord Advocate, white. The Solicitor General, white. The Chief Constable, white. Every Deputy Chief Constable, white. Every Assistant Chief Constable, white. The Head of the Law Society, white. The Head of the Faculty of Advocates, white. Every Prison Governor, white.
And then his mate did the same, didn't he?
Yes. He is SNP, isn't he? And it
he's
was
a proper wanker, him. I seen a video of him the other day doing like where he's eating stuff with his hands. But the difference is they were all things that are designed to be eaten with your hands, like burgers and that.
Yeah. It was, what did he say?
Anasawa.
He's Labour, isn't he?
Is he Labour?
He's Scottish Labour.
Humza's SNP.
Humza's SNP.
Anas is, he is Labour, yeah.
So, and then we had this today. I don't know if you've seen this on, the welcome, refugees welcome here march that they had.
Yeah.
Right. Where do you see this? Now, correct me if I'm wrong, Matt. I'm in Northern Ireland, but I remember that when Oswald Mosley marched in the British League of Fascists, and they all had the suits on. And they banned people from marching in England in anything that resembled a military uniform. Isn't that right?
Yeah.
I don't want to say anything that's not correct, like so. But really see these boys. This was on Twitter today.
No need for that. We're on the same side, bro. No, we're not. Yes, we are, bro.
I love that. I love that. We're on the same side, bro. No, you aren't.
So, yep, I thought that was a cracker. But my point being, they're all dressed in black. They all have their faces covered.
Yeah.
And apparently that is illegal in Britain, but nobody does anything about it.
Oh, well, I mean, we pretend that there's a discussion going on around the two-tier justice system, but there isn't. Like, everybody knows it. They can assault you. I've seen videos of them in front of the coppers. If one of them throws something in your face or punches you in front of the coppers won't arrest them. Just let them do what they want. It's and as I said, it's on purpose. They know that we know, but they don't care. It's all on purpose because they want to demoralise you. And that's why I just take the piss out of them all the time. It doesn't demoralise me, it makes me laugh. Because we know what they're doing, and then we've been talking about it for 10 years. We know exactly what they're doing.
It's the Manchester airport thing, with the freaking first cousin Mary's twins knocking the hell out of the coppers.
Yeah.
That disappeared.
It's mad, isn't it? It's mad.
After smashing,
I think if I did that, I'd have got shot. I reckon they would have killed me. If I was swinging at coppers like that in an airport, and their arm, one of them would have just shot you. Because they get away with it if they shot a white guy, they wouldn't complain about it. But if they if they shoot a black or a brown guy, they'll basically riot for a week and claim it's institutional racism. So yeah, they'd have just killed me.
Yeah.
It's mad, isn't it?
But your video on Sarah Potchin the day was brilliant, because, as I say, I brought up that judge advocate's white is such and such white, and even here in Northern Ireland, we started to notice years ago that there's very few people of colour here, but every fucking advert in the TV is full of them.
Yeah. Well, and that's what I was talking about. There's actually a Twitter that I follow called Black People in Irish Ads for some reason. That's what it's called. And it is because like everyone's noticed, which is why I said it is hilarious to me. They turn these mountains, make mountains out of molehills. Like everyone's been talking about this for years. Like at least 5, sort of 6 years, ever since the big BLM stuff after Floyd. All the adverts just became African. And everyone talks about it. Like every single normal person who I've ever met at some point in the UK has went, isn't it weird how that everyone on the adverts is all African? It's like everyone's noticed it. And then she says what everybody knows to be true. And they have a meltdown about it. Again, it's this Solzhenitsyn, everything he says, they repeat it word for word, cover for cover. It's obvious, isn't it?
But I think was it you or was it History Debunked said it? Is it Nigeria? I'm nearly sure it's Nigeria, but of course, it's an African nation somewhere. Banned white people from doing adverts on the radio, voiceover adverts on the radio. So they had to employ black people. Was that you or was History Debunked?
No, it wasn't me.
It must have been History Debunked then.
So they're actually physically just used the law to say you're not allowed to do it.
Yeah.
Yeah, of course it did. Mad, isn't it? Again, it's fine when they do it. I told you, though, this goes back decades, really. Because one of the weirdest things I think about, like, this historical whitewashing and stuff that they've done, they call it whitewashing, but really it's blackwashing. It's the opposite of the truth, as usual. And again, it's the exact opposite of the truth. They talk about whitewashing history. No, they blackwash it. There's now blacks in Celtic Britain and blacks in William Wallace's little army and blacks in, Victorian Britain, and it's just outright lies. There was hardly any. I told you, I'm old enough to remember this. There was hardly any blacks in Britain in 1985, let alone 1685. So they just outright lie all the time. But the thing that makes me laugh about that is, like I said, the blackwashing of history is like they over egg the pudding with when they somehow managed to find one, like Mary Seacole. They make out like she was like a pioneering medical genius and she ran the NAFI. Like she didn't do anything. So it's the exact opposite of the truth. And like I said, going back generations. I said this in the 90s. I remember talking about it like in school, saying, how come the Japanese were worse than the Germans, but nobody ever talks about the Japanese? And, it was because they're not white, isn't it? Like, I don't think anyone would argue the Japanese were more brutal than the Germans. They were. The torture and the slavery, the torture that they en masse did, the comfort women, the human trafficking, the surprise sexing of Nanjing, there's a famous one, knee deep in blood, like they were proper shocking. But no one ever criticises them half as much as the Germans get.
My first ex, my daughter's mother, her father was Welsh and in the Navy, and he was sunk off the coast of Japan somewhere and then taken prisoner of war. He was a prisoner of war for 3 years. And he came back. When he came back, he told them all when they were small kids and stuff. He says the Japanese were literally brutal.
Yeah, savage.
Did they not invade China?
Yeah, and that's Nanking.
Yeah,
It's a famous incident, that.
Lopped off heads wherever they went.
Yeah, it's one of the worst atrocities in history. That proper bad.
Yeah, they were nasty, but he like my grandfather said very little about what they did. Grandfather's O'Kane was Royal Navy, and he was sunk, and then injured. His brother lost his fingers in the breech of a gun, loading the gun. And, they closed the breech, and the man closed it too quickly and took his 4 or 3 of his fingers off or something. So, but brittle times. But where's this other one? Now I got your favourite one on here. They've actually caught your man, Hadzu Kabatu.
Oh,
Kababu. Now, your favourite guy, David Lamtron. I just want to get your thoughts on this one. Let me know you can hear it, folks.
Hours in which he has been basically around. It's right that we get to the bottom of what's happened over the course of those 48 hours, but I can assure you that he will be deported as he was expected to be deported. I expect that to happen this week.
We know one member of staff was suspended. Will anyone else get fired due to what happened at the prison on Friday?
A member of staff has been suspended, and it's right that there is a full independent inquiry into what has happened, and I'll be announcing that to Parliament tomorrow and going into details about that terms of reference. We need to get to the bottom of how this happened and why it happened, and of course, on behalf of the public, I want to be reassured that it won't continue to happen and that the systems that we put in place, the checks and balances, are there to reassure the public.
Yeah, so he's not getting deported then.
Yep.
Not happening.
Yeah, definitely not. He'd probably have a house in Croydon by the weekend.
Yeah, it's ludicrous.
But somebody has to be held accountable in that,
Well, like I said, it won't happen. It won't happen until there's wholesale change in the UK. It's going to have to be, like I said, I can't see it happening unless the Overton window shifts massively, Reform win by a landslide in the next election, and then more and more right-wing parties, further right than Reform, start realising they can say what they feel.
Yeah.
It's either that or it just kicks off massively. If we keep ignoring the issue, it'll just keep getting worse till it kicks off, and it is going to kick off if they don't get a grip of it democratically, because as Merkel said famously it was like 2015 when she said it had failed utterly, multiculturalism. That was 10 years ago.
She said it in 2015, and it was David Cameron said it in 2020.
Yeah. And obviously it's circling the drain, isn't it? Because the more you let in, the worse it gets.
Yeah.
It's easier to integrate them when they only make up 2% of the country than it is to make up 10% of the country. So they're at the size now where they're about 19% of the UK, aren't the foreigners now? Or is it supposed to it's that bad now? It's about 80. England's only about 80% English, isn't it?
The black community is about 8%. The Pakistani community, at the last count, now, that when the government do the figures, they fuck about with them, because you did a great video during the week about, the cost of these things.
Yeah.
And I think it was 4%, because somebody made a great point about it. They said about 4% of the population was Pakistani Muslim, which means 2% are male, but they're responsible for 80% of the SA assaults, on children, disproportionate.
Well, like I said to you, the numbers are far worse than people think, because people don't think and they don't do the maths. But you think about it, if you categorise by age and gender as well, it's far worse than, because everyone harps about, oh yeah, blacks only make up like 3% of the state or whatever, depending on the state you're in, but they do 50% of the murders. If you categorise it by gender and then by age, if you do like Pakistani men, so only men and Pakistani, and age between sort of 16 to 45, you've got like 1% of the population doing 80% of the diddling.
Yes.
So it's that bad.
You dig into the figures, and I think it was the Hodge twins. They're mixed race. I think the grandfather was Scottish or something, and the two they look like black men, but they're not. They're blue eyes, and they define the difference between African Americans and, the word you can't say. And they were saying, they're 13% of the population of America, yet responsible for nearly 78% of the crime. Violent crime.
It's mad, isn't it?
And then all you have to do is go on to YouTube, and you go onto these police camera channels that they make, and it's always Jamal or Shaniqua, or it's never Paul Davis. It's never Sarah Ferguson. It's always one of them, and they're going off nuts. And you see them in schools and fighting, and then if it's up against one or another pupil that looks like us, it's 1-on-1 for about 30 seconds, and the next minute when he's getting the hell knocked out of him, about another 13 jump in and stamp all over the young fella.
Yeah, well, it's again because people that see the world rationally and with science understand it. Like, humans are innately and inherently tribal, and always will be. So I mean, I'm not even criticizing them so much for that. I almost feel like I wish more people of European descent were that tribal. Like, what I mean? They're just looking out for their own. Like, we're the ones who've invented, like, decorum. I always tell you my favourite story about how it's a cultural thing. Like, the English specifically invented a lot of these daft rules about decorum. And they kind of make you proud on one thing, because you're like, oh, that is very civilized. But on another thing, it kind of make you think, like, are we a bunch of fucking morons? Like, do you remember when, my favourite story about it is, do you remember Gustavo Poyet, who used to be, was at Spurs, I think, and then he was, he basically played a lot of footy in the UK. And he was, he's from Uruguay, and he was on telly getting asked, he's commentating, because he was a hell of a player, Poyet. And he was commentating, and they were talking about the World Cup. Some guy dived or what have you. And he said, don't you realise, like, this whole thing about cheating is like, it's only you English who say this. It's like in Uruguay, in Argentina, in South and Central America, we view it as a positive thing if the player's willing to do anything to win for his team.
Yeah.
So the English were all bemused by, like, his answer, but Poyet was being honest, and he was telling them, like, it's almost like, cultural ignorance on our part when we go, I can't believe they did that. Maybe we're willfully ignorant because we don't like saying an unpleasant truth, but that's a fact. Like, the British were all like, I can't believe Maradona is worshipped in Argentina after he blatantly cheated. And everyone's like, yeah, but that's the way it is there. And who are we to criticise them? Again, it's relativism. Or like when you get pinkos crying in England because the Chinese eat dogs. Well, we only like dogs. We like them as pets. The Indians worship cows and we eat them by the bucket load. So instead of like fake outrage, you should try and understand the fact that not everywhere is created equally. So at the same time, yeah, obviously I'm going to slag them off because of the way they act like that, but maybe we should be a bit more tribal
Yes.
You know, maybe we've got something to learn from them for a change.
But I think, Matt, that's been sort of, it's not been bred out of it, it's been schooled out of us, because we were a very tribal people at a time, you know. And there's the thing that you play at the start of some of your shows, Rule Britannia.
Yeah.
Britannia rules the waves, you know. Scottish were very tribal. The Irish is very tribal. Parts of England, very tribal. We had clans, we had, you know, all that sort of stuff. But that's been, I think, just over the years, the education systems and bits and pieces like that there, it's literally bred it out of us. And then when you bring in a whole pile of other tribes that have a strong tribal feeling, then shit hits the fan then.
Yeah.
As we've seen, the gentlemen there all dressed in black. Refugees, welcome here. It's done with you. No, you fucking don't.
Lunatics, aren't they? Lunatics. And how long have we told them this? Like the Islam or Communist Alliance. Like, how thick are they? These people are morons. Well, of course they're morons, the communists. But they are dead men walking if their allies win the election and take power. If they take supreme power, they are dead men walking. I genuinely am staggered the amount of gay men, like people like Owen Jones, that are dumb enough. Like, I know they're ignorant of history, but I'm staggered that they're that ignorant. Like, they honestly, genuinely seem to think. He's one of the biggest ones for it. Do you remember when that bloke did the Pulse nightclub shooting out here in Florida? Killed like 50 people in the gay nightclub.
Yes.
And Owen Jones was stormed off Sky News. Because they were saying to him, yeah, but didn't he do it because of his religion? And Owen Jones went mental and stormed off the set. He was like, no, this is just blatant Islamophobia. It's like, if you can sit there on television with a straight face and say that Islam isn't homophobic, when every single scrap of data proves that to be the case, you are a raving lunatic. You are willfully ignorant. There was a poll The Guardian did about 10, 15 years ago where they asked British Muslims what they thought of homosexuality. And worse than any other country in Europe, they asked, you must know the one I'm talking about. There was 500 polled, and it made international headlines because they were the worst in Europe, British Muslims. Because obviously a lot of them were Diabandism and stuff. There's a lot of this British Muslims are the most hardline. And of the 500 that they polled, not a single one wasn't homophobic. And then Owen Jones will go on TV after a bloke kills 50 gays and goes, oh no, it's Islamophobic saying that they're homophobic. They are homophobic, every single one of them. Every single practicing muzzy despises homosexuality. So that guy who's like, we're on the same side, bruv. He's like, no, we're not, because I don't suck my dad's balls.
Yes, but you must remember when YouTube was YouTube, and before it got sort of heavily censored, you would see videos of them, you know, basically giving them free flying lessons off the top of a building.
Yeah,
you know?
Fucking loads of them.
Or hanging them from a JCB crane.
This is what I mean, though, why it's willful ignorance. Like, this isn't my opinion. It's as verifiable a fact as Paris being the capital of France. Like, all of the Islamic scholars, imams, all of the ayatollahs, all of the people in a position of authority in their faith, all say that the Sharia is very clear. The rules are very clear. It is a blasphemous act. It's a sin. And according to the Sharia, it's punishable by death. And then Owen Jones goes on telly and goes, this is how arrogant these woke lefties are. Owen Jones will go on telly in front of an imam and an ayatollah and go, no. Let me tell you about Islam. You don't know. What planet are you living on?
Well, I'm sure at some stage you've studied it, Matt. There's better men than me that have studied it. And one of your favourite fellas, there was two brothers. One of them died, Hitchens. And there's there was a famous video of him sitting giving an interview to a fella, and he says, "If you don't stop it now, it's just going to get worse."
Oh, Christopher Hitchens was great about it.
Yes.
Christopher did some amazing little speeches and.
Do you remember the interview I'm talking about though? It's him and the guy sitting in the living room type thing.
Yeah.
The fireplace behind him and stuff, and he's saying, "If you don't stop it now, it's just going to get worse."
Yeah.
Because he's read all their books and he's studied all their religion and stuff. This is, and now look at the state of England now, and now it's reaching into Northern Ireland as well, and it's in Ireland, the Republic of Ireland, and things are getting shit. But one famous thing you keep on saying, it has to get worse before it gets better, before people start waking up.
Yeah, well, like I said, he was super switched on. Like, I read his book, God Is Not Great. That must be 20 years old. I think I read that in about 2006 or 7 or something. I don't know when it came out, but it was a long time ago. And, you know, like a lot of young lads in the 20s at the time, I was, you know, big into the like new atheism thing. I think a lot of us were if we were on YouTube. Sam Harris, Dan Dennett, Richard Dawkins, Christopher Hitchens. Remember watching it on YouTube back in the day. And it's scathing. He's scathing of all religions in his book, but definitely Islam more than most.
Yeah.
And I think it's because he was a man of the left, I feel like he had more confidence to criticise it, in that nobody could ever reasonably accuse Hitchens of being racist.
Yeah.
So I think more than the rest of them, he had more balls, because he was far more forthright on them than Richard Dawkins was. Because Richard Dawkins wasn't like a political activist type. Richard Dawkins was, I guess, almost regarded as a stuffy conservative.
Yes.
So Hitchens was very brave about it, and he just tortured them. There's a fantastic clip of him back in the day when he was on Question Time with Shirley Williams. Have you ever seen that clip?
No, can you put it up?
I bet I can find it if I just go straight on. Hang on, let me have a look.
Then just put it in present.
But it's amazing, because again, it's what I'd have done. I'd have tortured her.
His brother now regularly appears on GB News.
Yeah.
He's as pragmatic as his brother was, and he just tells it as it is.
Yeah.
This is how it's going to be, folks. If you don't stop it now.
Yeah, here it is. Can you? Don't know if the audio works. How do I present this?
There's a wee TV looking thing in the middle.
Oh, it's great. Yeah, it's really, really good. This. It's So this was when it basically he tortures her because, like I always say, how all politicians care about is coin. She not only slams people for defending Salman Rushdie, but she equates it with coin. You know, she says like, "Oh, it should be up there. I've put it on." There you are.
Well, you have control of it, Matt. I don't. So you have to press play on it.
You got the audio.
Rushdie's knighthood an insult to Muslims worldwide?
Shirley Williams.
I think it was a mistake. I think that if it was as it's said to be, a reward for lifelong literary endeavour, then all I can say is that I think the timing was very odd indeed. I want to say very clearly that I don't believe the Prime Minister had anything whatsoever to do with it. I think it came up from a departmental proposal, which is what usually happens with knighthoods, and a lot of the political sort of firestorm that started has been started quite incorrectly. Nevertheless, I think the Department of Culture and the media, which I think put his name forward, were not very wise to do it in that way. This is a man who has deeply offended Muslims in a very powerful way, who's been protected by the British police against threats of suicide for years and years, at great expense to the taxpayer. And frankly, I think that it was not wise and not very clever to give him a knighthood.
Now, the question was, do you think we should have given Salman Rushdie a knighthood if he missed it at the start?
Yeah.
And you could see it biting his tongue the whole time, because I was when I was watching that before I'd even seen it. As soon as she starts speaking, you're like, hang on, All he did was write a work of fiction. And because these low IQ cousin fuckers can't get their heads around it, apparently he's the villain. I was like, he didn't do anything. And then Hitchens, brilliant, because this is why I love him. Like, I'm an argumentative prick. Like, I'll happily offend a room full of people. He just does exactly what I would have done, which is just call every one of them in the audience a wanker. It's like, because they're easily led on. They're like, oh, look, there's a few people clapping. Yeah, we'll give her a clap. Why are you giving her a clap for that? And all these people who call themselves liberal, this is what I mean about how ignorant and stupid they are. They call themselves liberal. The liberal position to take is exactly the position Hitchens has got. In the 90s and the 80s, it was the liberals who were always saying, oh yeah, of course you can take the piss out religion. George Carlin, all these beloved of the left. Of course you can rip the piss out of the priests. Of course you can call a Catholic a pedo. Of course you can. This is freedom of speech. But the second the people whose religion it is have got a little bit of a tan, they do a complete reversal and they go, you can't say anything. You can never ever criticise them. And if they want to murder a man for writing a book, they're in the right and you should clap. A big, fat, daft Lib Dem oxygen thief sack of shit like that for saying such total bollocks in a public place.
Toffee asked a question. Did Salman Rushdie not get really badly?
Yeah, he's fucked. He's fucked now. He got stabbed in the eye, knifed about 8 times. He only lived because of like modern surgical procedures. Yeah, he's blind in one eye now. That was a couple of years ago. I went to see Salman Rushdie in a library in LA about 8 years ago, and my missus got a signed book off him. Not that good of a writer, to be honest, but at least I admire his balls. Anyway, yeah, let's watch Hitchens just torture it and the entire audience. It's great.
Christopher Hitchens.
I think that's a contemptible statement, and I think everyone who applauded it should be thoroughly ashamed of themselves. Do you think, really, that it's a waste of time and money defending free expression from suicide murderers? If you do, can you think of a better cause the money should go on? When I hear idle talk about how this country and this culture could or should punch above its weight, as we say, I think, well, what do we have that's better than our language? And isn't it extraordinary that we have an author who has helped spark a renaissance of writing in the subcontinent that's produced a whole new branch of English literature there written in our language, who knows it better than, I may say, some of our politicians appear to do. Tariq Ramadan, who you may have heard of, who's become something of a self-appointed spokesman for Islam in Western Europe, had the following to say the other day, a man with whom I've often disagreed. He said, it is entirely up to the British who they nominate for an award. I hope you'll at least agree with that. Oh, you don't, all right. He went on to say something perhaps you don't know. He said the protests against it in Pakistan are purely a matter of violent, vicious internal politics there. It's part of a jostling for position. People who claim to be offended can by all means do so. It takes a lot to make me cry. But people who say, I'm so offended, I'm going to start suicide bombing in my country, have to be told, no, that's an unpardonable interference in our internal affairs. And it shouldn't have been our High Commissioner who was called in by the Pakistani government to be lectured. We should have hauled in the envoy of Pakistan here and said, stop that right now, or do without all the aid we give you. Okay. Do without the protection and alliance that you've prospered from out of our kindness and generosity. Okay. We won't have talk of murder for the writing of novels. And I see that whatever I say, there's a sort of sullen, resentful, boring atmosphere in this room.
Thank you. Stop.
That's better.
Yeah, look at them, because they're just pathetic, and that's what I'm saying. Like, I won't have it. I won't have these people talk down to me, and that's the problem with reform and the Conservatives and everybody on the right in England. They are cowards, being neutered by decades of nonsense. And we've got our own problems because so many on the far right are also complete, utter fuckwits and refuse to want to win. I try to make that point to someone when I talk to David Clues. It's like, what's wrong with pragmatism? It's why I keep getting behind reform. Like, if you're just going to be, like I told you, the mad thing about them is, and I said I'd talk to, what's his name in a couple of weeks, that Mark Collett.
Yes.
They refuse to want to win. Like, when you talk to those people, the fans in the chat are ruder and more, they act like bigger wankers than the far left do. they're like, they think they're going to win by constantly insulting everyone, browbeating them, and then just being as aggressively right wing as they possibly can in a public forum. You don't get anywhere in the general public if you say, and again, I'm even willing to entertain the idea that we've been outright lied to by the powers that be for the last 40 years. You know, the older I get, the more I'm willing to accept it. I know we told a load of bollocks about Churchill. I know we did demonise many elements of what was going on the continent. There's a discussion there to be had. But if you're just going to go on telly and just go, we were the bad guys in World War II, every single thing you got told in your entire life is a lie, the Germans were the good guys, you're not going to win, even if everything they say is true. You're still not going to win. And I think that's the point that they don't grasp. But the segue is slightly there. But what I'm getting at is, Hitchens there, it's a good thing to do it, but it can also be counterproductive because all the people in that room have been conditioned for generations to think that our whole national legend was built around World War II. And you have to be tolerant of the intolerant. And Hitchens is almost a little bit too forthright for them because, you've seen them all there. They just sat there like everything he said is true. But the whole room's been muted, haven't they? They're not willing to just say, that is a perfectly good point. And there's absolutely no excuse for killing someone over a work of fiction. I think it's preposterous. Like, the UK is fucking...
I think that show is just heavily biased in the first place. And then they had that guy on, the blonde-haired actor fella, used to be married to the girl from Doctor Who. And he says, it's an immutable characteristic of me.
Characteristic, Lawrence Fox, you mean?
Lawrence Fox, that's him.
Yeah.
I can't change my skin colour. But the two people that were going at him in the audience turned out to be BBC employees.
Of course they
Do you
were.
remember that one?
Yeah.
You know?
But again, like, we're almost bored talking about it, aren't we? Because it's like, we know all this now. Like, these aren't conspiracy theories anymore. The BBC do it all the time. They've been caught dozens of times in the last 20 years. Like, it's a propaganda arm of the state, and the state have told us openly what they want to do, and it's have the entire world be one gigantic shit country where we're all mixed in, we're all malleable, you don't own anything, and you are happy. Now, they've told us what they want. We still debate these on YouTube and that as if this is like a discussion. Like, it's not, it's a fact. It's a proven fact. We're all living in it.
Yes.
Globalist sociopaths rule the world, and they will lie, cheat, steal, kill to make it, to enact their little project. Look at that. Look at Trump. They've just outright lied about him for 10 years.
Yes.
All the biggest scandals about Trump are lies. Like, didn't happen. The very fine people one is the best example. The amount of people I've told that there's still... I reckon if you were to ask the British public, if you went into that room and said, who thinks Trump said white nationalists are very fine people? 50% of them would say, oh yeah, he definitely said that.
No,
it's an outright fiction. They literally just, in the same clip, they just clipped the first 10 seconds off. He says, and I'm quoting him, he goes, obviously I'm not talking about the neo-Nazis and the white nationalists, but they were he says they should be condemned utterly. But there were very fine people on both sides. They just clipped the first 10 seconds off the thing, send it around the world 15 times, and now everybody in the world still thinks it's a thing. Like, it's... I just find it bizarre that people still want to, like, debate it. It's like, when you agree to debate it, you're almost cheapening the facts, aren't you? Because if you agree to debate it, you're pretending that your opponent doesn't know that this has been common knowledge for 10 years.
Yes.
You know what I mean?
Chris Dangerfield, I don't even know if you've seen him before.
Yeah, I've watched him a few times.
Right? And he used to be very, very talked about politics all the time, and then he noticed his channel getting needed. And he started doing more sort of family-orientated stuff. And he done a stream one night, and he says, email me a photograph of you when you're a child. And, you know, put your handle on it. And he says, we'll show them, and then we'll do a competition like, who's this? This is a Scrubs member. Who do you think this is? and we all sent photographs in. And some real ethno-nationalist far-righty dude who sits with a baseball cap on and a skull mask on clipped that there and tried to make out that he was a paedophile asking for photos of kitties.
Yeah, it's shocking.
It's like, what the fuck?
Weird that an ethnic guy did that to him. You'd think it'd be a commie more than an ethnic. I thought Chris was 90% of the way there himself.
Well, Chris, what did they accuse him of? They accused him of living in Cambodia. No. Cambodia with a Taiwanese ladyboy. You couldn't make this shit up. Like, it's like, wow.
Well,
It's neo-Nazi lair in Cambodia.
yeah, well, that's what I mean. It's a crazy time to be alive, isn't it? It's the horseshoe theory is real, though. I mean, do people still debate that one? Like, the very, very left and the very, very right, they're basically the same. Like,
Yes.
the intolerance and the tribalism and the any tactics are fair game, they all do the same shit. Like,
Yeah.
you know, so yeah, I'd expect it to be more likely to come from the left, but the very, very far right will do the same thing. Like, there's no talking to people when they're... You've got as much chance of convincing a full-blown far-left communist or a full-blown far-right neo-Nazi of, you know,
Nope.
changing the mind.
Toby says it wasn't an ethno-nat, it was
It wasn't an ethnat. It was a bad actor.
just a bad actor. It's just somebody stirring shit on YouTube.
Oh, well, maybe it was then. Like I said, I wouldn't have thought the ethnats would have much of a truck with Chris. He seems to be quite a right-wing fella himself at this point.
Yeah. Well,
But, what I'm getting at is, yeah, at the end of the day, if you go to the extremes, then it's... You become ideologically consumed to the point where you don't do anything else. Like I said to you, I always try and tell people that you should at least retain your sense of humour so you can retain a normal life. Like, you know, I love YouTube, but I've plenty of hobbies, yeah, and spend my time doing them, and I spend my time hanging out with my mates and going on the piss and playing 40k, and I do a lot of reading. If you become a full-blown ideologue, I think that's a bad thing. What's what?
What is 40k?
See all them models behind me? They're miniatures. 40k is Space Marine, Warhammer 40,000. Games Workshop's a great British company.
Right.
It's a war game. It's sort of like chess, except a lot more complicated.
The brother he plays, what's that? Ezreal. And he's, what's he call that? That's a range of games. They made a movie about it.
Dungeons and Dragons?
No, not Dungeons and Dragons. It's they're after the apple, the eye of the apple or something. Assassin's Creed.
Oh, Assassin's Creed. Okay, yeah.
And he has these things in his living room in boxes. And it's Ezio this, and it's all these different characters. And they're fucking fortune. Like, I'm going like, what?
Oh yeah, nerds pay a fortune for them. Yeah, like that's figurines and collectibles and shit. Now that's a game. You do you just play a game. It's like 2-player game. Play against your mate. Rules and move. You have fighting and shooting and moving and yeah, it's just enjoyable. The point I'm getting at is, you're not a political ideologue when you still have a life. Because when you're consumed by it, that's all these people do, and that's why. I think I'll criticise again both the left and the right for that. It's like this is why people become ostracised. I've got a mate, right, who I was friends with for like 15 years. I called Nodge from Redcar, and I used to hang out with him and go drinking and that. But he got more and more politically sort of crazy, and he's a lefty. And we used to argue. I remember being in the pub with him when Cameron won the election. And at the time, I'm a Tory vote. I've just voted for Cameron. And he said to me, oh, the NHS is going to disappear. And I was like, no, they've been making that argument since the 80s. Like I said, if you go on your phone, they've been saying the Conservatives will get rid of the NHS since the 80s. It's their go-to argument. And they're doing it now with reform, aren't they? So I think that's what the tactic was in Wales. And they were saying, oh, if Farage wins, it'll cost you £2,000 to use an ambulance. It's been a left-wing argument for 40 years.
Yeah.
And I said to him in the booze, I said, I'll tell you what, I'll give you 2-1 odds and I'll have £1,000 on with you. Like, arguing with him in the pub. I said, I'll have £1,000 on with you, so if you lose, I'll give you 2. The Cameron doesn't cut the NHS. Not only when I say the NHS will be here in 10 years' time, I bet the funding goes up for the NHS every year for the next 10. How's about that? And he wouldn't take my money. So I was like, yeah, so you don't really believe it, do you? But he started off there and he's just gone worse and worse and worse and worse. And now, every single time I see the lads from back home, I'll meet them all in the pub, there'll be like 10 of us. And they'll be like, oh yeah, Nodge on mute. Like, nobody listens to him anymore because you physically can't talk to him. He goes on Facebook every day and he puts 20 posts a day on Facebook about insane commie gibberish. And nobody's interested, either, because you've got to retain a fucking life.
Yeah.
And I think this is where people go too far with politics.
Davey has a suggestion for you for a live stream. Doing your painting or playing 40k. We've got a problem during the pandemic stuff. He would do streams of him playing, is it Modern Warfare?
Oh, yeah, does he? I always thought Bert, right? So I'm curious how old he is. I always thought he was an old bloke, mate. I wonder if he's like my age.
He's in his 40s.
Is he?
Because he still has young kids at school.
Interesting.
And then
He's got one of them voices where he sounds like an old geezer, doesn't he? I just assumed he was in like his 60s.
Everybody chipped in for this. He was a veteran and he was living in squalor. And a lot of people went in and cleared out his flat, and painted and decorated and did this, that, and the other. And Bert built him a computer, because that's what he does. Apparently he's really, really good at it. He gets the tire and stuff, but he puts all the best bits in it, and give it to him for free. The monitors and stuff. So it's Warhammer. What's Warhammer? See, I used to game with the kids years ago, Modern Warfare and bits and pieces, but I don't do it anymore because there's no kids here. And then they banned me because they had, you had the earphones and the mic bit and all on, and you were playing as a team. And here, there's a guy over there, shoot him. And the Americans would come on and they'd start effing and blinding and swearing and getting all night to fucking burger eating baby killers, You can't say that. Or if there was a French guy on, the fucking cheese eating surrender monkey.
Yeah, that old chestnut.
We're banning your mic, Dad. We're banning your mic. So that's 50 minutes. Matt, you want to call it there?
Yeah, we can do. I'll go and talk to the Miopos. I normally meet them for a game on Sunday. All right. Well, as usual, thanks for having me. We'll see what mental shit goes on in this next month, and then I'll see you in a month.
No problem. We'll see who escapes from prison this month.
Hopefully we'll get... oh, yeah. When am I going back? No, I'll be on next month. Yeah, I'm flying home. I'm going home on early December. So I'll be here next month.
If we see somebody at the airport with a sort of a hat on and glasses and a false beard, we'll know it's you.
No. If you see someone at an airport getting pushed out, like strapped to a board with yellow orange overalls and a mask on, like Hannibal Lecter, that's me. They've nicked me upon arrival. So yeah, we'll see.
I wouldn't put it past them.
No, I wouldn't. Like I said, I travel on my US passport. I pay for a visa, and I leave the British one at home, and I hope for the best. So we'll see.
No worries, bud.
All right, see you later, mate.
Talk to you later.
Take it easy.
Right, just before we go here, folks, I want to plug Toffee has started his own channel. He has dropped the links in there because he's a mod and can do that. If you want to get over there, please sub to Toffee. And what did he say there? I'm streaming every Monday from November the 3rd onwards. Right, so mark that one in your diaries, folks. If you did donate, thank you very much. If you didn't, doesn't matter, don't care. I will try and get a guest on for next Sunday. Maybe try the Woodlander because it's coming into the cold months. So that just leaves me to say good night God bless, or in my case, Odin bless.